Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you all. It's Thursday, 7:15 in Ireland. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today, and it's a great day for us because we have again Roberto Watanabe. He's president of Spiritism Federation of the state of São Paulo in Brazil. He will talk about something very important for us, and I hope you enjoy his presentation and his knowledge. We need to acquire a lot of him because he has a lot to contribute to us and to the Spiritism movement. So I would like to say hello to our friends in United States with Kardec Radio listeners. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your patience, all the SSI workers. So see, I have some comments here already. Good, that's good. Oh, it's people saying hi. Hello, people from Brazil, and everybody who are here with us today. So, in order to start, I will do the initial prayer. So, I would like to invite everyone to concentrate. It's not required to close your eyes, but if you want, you can do so. And raise up your thoughts towards Jesus, towards our mentors. Ask them to enlighten ourselves, to fill us up with his love, his patience. And at the same time, involve our speaker today, Roberto Watanabe, and allow his words reach out everyone who needs to listen what he has to say to us today. May this light, may this love reach not just our Spirit Center, but all the Spirit Center around the world. May these joint efforts or joint forces may reach all those brothers and sisters who are in need of any material need or moral need. So be it. Amen. Okay. Hi, Roberto. How are you?
Hi, Esteban. I'm fine, and you? Thanks to be here again.
Yeah, thank you very much for your second time. You accept the challenge.
Yeah.
And I'm glad. So you have a lot of fans here. So we do have wow. See? Gabriel Inácio. Wow, it's my president. See? You have a fan club here.
Oh.
That's very good. This is amazing.
Oh.
It's amazing when you see people likes you for your character, for your person who you are, for the examples. So, and it's a pleasure for us having you here today.
Yeah, I thank you for you all.
Great. Also we are live in Chicago. Our friend Don Sambal. Hi, Chicago. And our people here from Ireland. Daniela Paixão is always with us. Kaká. So it's love to have you here. So, Roberto, just one question before we start your presentation.
Okay.
We do have a challenge here in Ireland because we are the foreigners here. So we need to adapt ourselves to the culture and to the country.
Okay.
When you prepared your presentation, what was the challenge? Not just write or think in English, but what was the most difficult moment you had when you were preparing the presentation?
Well, the difficulties to organize ideas, to structure the presentation, because as we are going to talk about Socrates and Plato as a precursor of the Christian idea in Spiritism, then my idea here was to talk about what Socrates and Plato said, and then comparing to what Jesus said and to what Spiritism says. So that's the most difficult part, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. Very good, my friend. So I will put your deck on the screen. I will be on the background. So if you need me, just call me. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And
Thank you.
so it's here. You can start it.
Okay. Okay. So let's start. Hello, everybody. Again, may the peace of Jesus be in our hearts. And let's start today. I'm glad to be here again with you. And today we are going to talk about Socrates and Plato as precursors of the Christian idea and Spiritism. We know that the ideas such as reincarnation, soul immortality was with us long before Christ, the coming of Christ, because actually, as we say in Spiritism, all these great religious men from the past, or philosophers, or sages like Socrates, like Buddha, like those men of India, all of them were sent by Jesus. So they are all precursors of the Jesus, the Christian idea. So that's what we are talking today, but concentrating in the case of these two Greek philosophers who lived between 5 and 4 centuries before the coming of Jesus. So this is in the introduction to the Gospel according to Spiritism. You see all these we are going to present here. It is there. So there we have there some main ideas of Socrates and Plato, and what we did, as I talked before, is to make a comparison between what they said and what Jesus and the Spiritism says today. So just to introduce the subject, we see here that the great ideas never appear suddenly. As I said, Jesus sent their precursors in the former centuries, and then they prepared the way for him, actually, for Jesus himself. So Socrates and Plato were two of these precursors. We can cite other ones, okay? And they are precursors not only of the Christian ideas, but also of the Spiritism. That's what we are going to see in our presentation today. Let's talk a little about these two philosophers. So Socrates, he lived in the 5 to 4th century before Christ. So he was the first moral philosopher, preoccupied with ethics, and like Jesus, he didn't write anything. He used to utilize this dialectic method of inquiry. Basically, he went on the streets asking people questions like, what is courage, what is virtue, what is friendship, what is beauty, and then testing people because they they believed that they knew about all these concepts of these virtues, but uh, as we were he was inquiring these people, um, they realized that they didn't know about that. So this is the dialectic method. It's a kind of a dialogue between Socrates and the people he found on the streets. And he defended that the best way to live is to focus on the pursuit of the virtue, because as we see, he were more preoccupied with the soul rather than the body. So that's why his basic recommendation is know thyself. This is nothing created by him. So this was already in the oracle of the city of Delphos, on the front of this kind of a temple, a Greek temple. And Socrates was suffered a trial, and he was condemned to death. He was accused of not worshiping the gods of the city of Athens, where he lived, and also by corrupting the young people by teaching them wrong ideas. So that were false accusations, but at the end, he was condemned to drink poison, hemlock, and then this is his life. So it's much similar to Jesus. He didn't write anything, and he was also condemned to death like Jesus. He is a model of a moral person since that time until today. And Plato was his disciple. So as Socrates didn't write anything, Plato, as his disciple, he wrote many dialogues following that dialectic method of inquiry of Socrates. And then in these, and most about 30 dialogues, and most of those dialogues, Socrates appears as the main person here. There we see Socrates inquiring people about what they know about the virtues, like courage, beauty, as I said, justice, and so on. So Plato is the first philosopher who brings us an idea of two worlds. So we have this world that he called. We have an apparent world of a concrete changing objects grasped by the senses. Is this world where we live? Okay, this material world we say. But then Plato also said that used to say that there is a second world. And this second world is an unchanging world, because on this physical world, everything is changing, okay? We live, we grow, we get old, we die. And this happens with us, with nature. And but there is an unchanging world, Plato says, of abstract objects that he named as ideas. And these ideas can be grasped only by our intellect, our mind, by pure reason, he used to say. And then in his opinion, this world of ideas are the real world, is the real world. Our physical world, our material world, is a kind of imitation of that real world. So this is a kind of is what we call in philosophy, we call metaphysics, because it's something. Meta is a Greek word that means beyond. So beyond the physical things. So metaphysics, there is this metaphysical world, the world of ideas for Plato, and for us as a spiritist, we say about our physical realm, and we talk about the spiritual realm. So this spiritual realm would be the metaphysical, because it's beyond our physical world. Okay, so that's the link that we can make between Plato's idea and Spiritism idea. So Plato also defended another ideas like soul immortality, theory of reminiscence, that he says that the soul is immortal. He brought this from the Egyptian religion, and the theory of reminiscence. We are talking more about that in after. And they say he says that before we incarnating in this world, we were living there in the world of ideas, and there we saw many of those immortal ideas, eternal ideas like justice, beauty, virtue. And then when we incarnate here on earth, we remember those ideas that we saw there. So this is the theory of reminiscence. So let's now we are going to make a summary of this doctrine of Socrates and Plato, which is there on the introduction of the Gospel according to Spiritism. So first point that Allan Kardec points out from their ideas is this idea that the human being is an incarnate soul. So incarnate soul means that we human beings are composed of two parts. We are souls that incarnate in bodies. So we have a soul and body. So that is the basic idea of the Greeks, like Socrates and Plato. So what they said is that before incarnation, the human being or us, we existed in union with the ideas of the true, the good, and the beautiful. Or that is when we were there on the world of ideas. In the Spiritism language, we say, when we were there on the spiritual dimension, okay? So, and then they say, upon incarnating, the human being separates from those ideas, and is tormented by desire to return to it, because on the Socrates and Plato thinking, as I said, this world of ideas is the true world, is the real world. So we incarnate, but we want to go back. So that's one of the main issues that they talk about. And what is said here is that they are representing the doctrine of the pre-existence of the soul and survival of the soul after death. So something in opposite to the materialism thinking. Okay, so this is according to what the Spiritism and Jesus also defended. That's what we are going to see next. Okay. So what say the Spiritist book? They say that it says that souls are the same as spirits. So what Socrates and Plato call as a soul, we call spirit. And the Spirit book says, before uniting with the body, the soul populates the invisible world, which is the spiritual dimension that I mentioned, okay? So you see the similarity between the ideas of them and the Spiritism. And then, Socrates and Plato says that the human being is composed of two parts, soul and body. Spiritism says that the human beings, or us, we consist of three essential parts. We have the body, or the material being. We have the soul of the incarnate spirit, and we have something that links the body to the soul, and which we call Allan Kardec calls the perispirit. It's a kind of a semi-material substance that unites the soul with the body. So the comparison, the analogy that we can do is with fruit, like an avocado, for example, here. So Kardec says, they are like a fruit, which consists of the seed. So the seed would be the body, the flesh, which would be the perispirit, and the rind, or the opposite. No, the seed is the soul, the flesh is the perispirit, and the rind is the body. So a kind of analogy for us to understand what is the relationship between body, soul, and perispirit. So this is a little bit different from what Socrates and Plato said. Also in the question 84 of the Spiritus book, the Spirit says that the spirits comprise the world of the spirits, or incorporeal intelligence, because they don't have a body like us. Okay, so that's why incorporeal. And the next question, 85, they say that the spirit world is the principal one. So you see the same idea of Socrates. The real world is there on the world of ideas. And Spiritism says the same. The spirit world is the principal one. It is pre-existence too, and will survive everything else. So we just we are just going through an incarnation on a temporary situation. Okay, and then in the question 959. The Spiritus say that the soul retains a vague memory of what it knows and what it saw in the spirit state. So similar to Plato, right? That he said that when the human being were there, he saw the ideas of good, of justice. So the same, something similar is being said here by the Spiritism. Okay. So this is the first point of Socrates and Plato ideas. The second one is Plato says that the soul wanders and becomes confused when it uses the body in order to consider any object. So what he's saying, that the body has strong limitations to apprehend the objects. We must use our mind rather than our senses. So that's why he says that whenever the soul contemplates its own essence, it turns toward what is pure, eternal, and immortal. And this state of the soul, he says, is what is called wisdom. So wisdom is to, like that recommendation of Socrates, right? Wisdom is to know thyself, not our body, but we as soul. We as spirits. So that's what Plato is saying here. And what the Spiritism says in the Gospel according to Spiritism, Kardec says there that the humans who consider things from a materialistic point of view, or from the point of view of the body, delude themselves. So that in order to evaluate them correctly, it's necessary to see them from the point of view of the spirit. So the same that Socrates and Plato are saying, right? You instead of looking things through the body, you look through the soul, they said. And Spiritism says, you look through the spirit. You know? And then he complements, the truly wise must therefore, in some way, isolate the soul from the body in order to see with the eyes of the spirit. So that is very similar to the two philosophers are saying. And when we see from the point of view of the spirits, Kardec says, and he says here, for those who through their thought place themselves in the spirit life rather than in body, and the spiritual life is limitless. The corporeal life is no more than a brief stay in an ungrateful country. So it's a kind of a negative view of our physical existence. But not that they are denying the importance, because it is necessary for us to incarnate, to progress as spirits, right? So here he's saying here because he's comparing with the situation on the spiritual realm, which is more real, as I said, than here. And then he complements, knowing they are in a temporary situation here, incarnated, they accept the worries of life with more indifference, which results on a composure of the spirit that mitigates their affliction. So when we see life from the materialistic point of view, any kind of a suffering has an enormous effect upon us. When we see from the point of the view of the spirit, who is just passing here for a temporary time, and we are learning many things, then those suffering has much less impact on us. Is that he's saying here? Okay, is what Plato just are saying there. The third point, which you are putting here, is that something similar to the second, Plato says that while we have our body, we will never possess the truth, because the body fills us with desires, appetites, fears, and thousands of follies. So the body makes us in a very turbulent situation. And what he says that freed from the insanity of the body, or when after we leave this earth, after death, we will know by ourselves the essence of things. And he says that's why true philosophers prepare themselves to die, and why death in no way seems fearsome to them. So it's not that they are going to they want to die in any way. No. Is preparing to die, but to prepare to die, you must know how to live now. So that's the main idea. Okay, and what Spiritism says in Heaven and Hell, which is another book written by Kardec. He says that the Spiritist doctrine completely transformed the way one envisages the future. So it's the same as Plato is saying there. So since doubt about the future is no longer feasible, the fear of death disappears. The spiritual world appears to us in the fullness of its practical reality. And the very inhabitants of that world, that is the spirits, have come to us describing their situation. So here's a main issue in the Spiritism, which is the communication between us, incarnate, and the spirits, discarnate, okay? So here is what he's saying here. The fourth point is from the Plato idea. I mentioned Plato because Plato who wrote, right? Socrates didn't write anything. So Plato says, in what happens after our death, he says that the spirit that we call daimon is a Greek word which means genius. So the spirit who had been assigned to us during life lead us to a place where all those who must be taken to Hades is the king of the dead, and is a place where all the dead people go. In other words, it's the spiritual world. Okay, so all those who must be taken to Hades are gathered in order to be judged. And then he says, after remaining in Hades for some time, for the time required, souls are reconducted to do this life again for numerous and long periods. So this he talks here about the reincarnation. Okay, we after that we remain some time there, and then we go back again, reincarnate again, and then we go back to the spirit. And so this is the successive reincarnation Plato is saying here, which is the same what the Spiritism says. So there are 2 points that we must point here. One is this daimon, and the second is the reincarnation. So let's see what the Spiritist book says. On the question 489, the Spirit says, I say the Spiritist says because the Spiritist book, Kardec did only the question, right? Because the answers were from the Spirits. So the Spiritist says there on the question 489 that all of us, each of us, we have protector spirits or guardian angels in the Catholic language, for example. So who are they? They are spirits who link themselves to particular individuals or to each one of us in order to protect us. So that is their mission. And they are connected to us since birth until death. And after death, after our death, they accompany us after death in the spirit life, and even through other reincarnation in the future. So it's a kind of a friend, intimate friend that you have who take care of us. So this is the diamond that Plato is saying there. Okay, so here we see the parallel between the Greek philosophy and Spiritism. Now about reincarnation, what Jesus says. We have in the Gospel according to St. John, chapter 3, there is that passage where St. John says, now there was a Pharisee, a man named Nicodemus, who was a member of the Jewish ruling council. He came to Jesus at night and said, Rabbi, we know that you are a teacher who has come from God. For no one could perform the signs you are doing if God were not with him. And then Jesus replied, very truly I tell you, no one can see the kingdom of God unless they are born again. So born again is reincarnation. So here is where Jesus, one of the places where Jesus is talking about reincarnation. Okay, and so what says Spiritism? In the Gospel according to Spiritism, Kardec says this passage is the consecration of the principle of the plurality of existence or of the reincarnation. Okay, so let's see the next point here from Plato's idea. So now talking a little bit more about the diamonds. So Plato says that the diamonds fill the space that separates the sky from the earth. And it is by means of them that the gods relate and have conversation with human beings, whether during the waking state or during sleep. So here, and diamonds mean all spirits in general. And who are the gods? Gods are those diamonds who are very highly evolved. Okay, so gods is a type of a diamond. So, but the difference is that they are highly evolved, and so these diamonds, or who are these diamonds? They are the spirits. We call in spirits, they are the spirits, and the spirits have this conversation with us during waking state, through mediumship, for example, or during sleep, because when we sleep, the body rests, but the soul doesn't need any rest. So we go and look for what interests us. Then we can talk with the spirits, or even with the other incarnate people. We can, if we have a friend, for example, we can meet them during sleep, talk to them. So this conversation is what Plato. You see, Plato is telling us here that it happens, and Spiritism says the same. And here is in the Spirit books, what I said already, right? The Greek word daimon means genius or intelligence. So it applies to all good or evil incorporeal beings without distinction. So they are the spirits. And then in question 459, Kardec asked to the spirits, do spirits have any influence on our thought and actions? And they answer, their influence on you in this regard is greater than you suppose, for very frequently is they who guide you. So what Spiritism is saying here is that the spirits in general, they have influence on us, on our thoughts, on what we do and what we talk. So what kind of influence will we have, good or bad, depending on what we are thinking. Okay, so this is all things that we study in Spiritism. The sixth point here is Plato is talking about the care of the soul. So he's saying that the constant preoccupation of the philosophers is to take greater care of the soul and less care of this life or of the material life. Because he asked, if the soul is immortal, would it not be wise to live with a view to eternity? Or he means to thinking about the soul and not much about this life. It's not that he doesn't care about this present life, as I said before, but that we must give importance to the soul. Okay, so that's what he's talking here. This is what Socrates did all his life, recommending people to take care of their soul rather than their bodies. What says the Spirit books? So in question 1893, the Spirits say that the highest virtue consists in the sacrifice of one's own interests for the good of one's neighbor, without ulterior motives. So do the good for the good, just that, okay? And they say the greater merit is that which is based on the most disinterested charity. So this is what is for Spiritism. This is what is taking care of the soul. Is doing these kind of things. Okay. The seventh point of the doctrine of Socrates and Plato. Plato says that the greatest misfortune that can occur to a person is to go to the other world, or he means after death, with a soul loaded with crimes. Therefore, he says, we must apply ourselves not to sing virtues, but to be so. And he complements, it's better to receive than to commit injustice. So these words is from Socrates when he was defending himself to the court of Athens, when he was accused and then condemned to death. So this is very interesting because he says that rather than commit an injustice, it's better to receive. Then we see here on the Gospel of Jesus also. For example, here on the Gospel according to St. Matthew, Jesus says, you have learned that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. I'm telling you not to resist the evil that others might want to do to you. So Jesus is saying the opposite, not an eye for an eye, but he says, if someone strikes your right cheek, offer him the other also. So not to resist evil. Okay, that's basically what Jesus said, and what Socrates also said in the past. And Spiritism explain here that by these words, Jesus did not interdict self-defense, but condemned vengeance. So this is basically what the Spiritism recommends us. So he's saying, Kardec says, that one should not repay evil with evil, and that is more glorious to bear patiently an injustice than to commit one. So the same as Socrates said, right? So here we see the similarity of thinking. The eighth point here is Plato said, one of two things apply. Either death is absolute destruction, or it is a passage of a soul to another place. So if it's only a passage to a place where the dead must meet, what happiness at re-encountering those whom we have known. So Plato is saying basically here that after that we meet the people who 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 uh, who was dead before us, and then we meet them, and we can have the opportunity to re-encountering them. So what the Spiritism said, the same. The Spiritist books, Kardec asked on the question 160, does a spirit meet those whom it knew on earth and who died before it? And the answer is yes, depending on the affection they had for one another. Of course, if I had a friend who died before me, and then I go there, I will meet him. But an enemy, perhaps, I will not meet. Okay, that's why depending on the affection. And he says, the spirits say, they almost always come to receive it, and they may even help free it from the bonds of matter. So when we die, we have a kind of a passage from this material world to the spiritual world, and then we need some help from the spiritual, our friends who are already there, to help free us from our bonds to our body. So that's what our friends and our people who were, for example, our grandfather or grandmother, so they help us. So that's what the spiritual book is saying here. And the, more of that, even we are still incarnate, they come to visit us. So that's it's said here. So we are in this contact with them frequently. The ninth point of the doctrine of Socrates and Plato, Plato says, the most beautiful prayers and sacrifices please the divinity less than a virtuous soul. So what basically he's saying here is not we offer in material things to God, but how virtuous we are. That is what God likes more. So, and then he said, it would be a grave thing if the gods were to have more consideration for our offerings than for our soul. So there are no truly just and wise. There are no truly just and wise, except those who, through their words and deeds, redeem what they owe to the gods and men. So being a just man here in earth is the best way to praise God. Okay, so that's basically Plato is saying here, and the Spiritism says the same. Right? Okay, Jesus also. So Jesus says in the Gospel according to Saint Matthew, if you, when presenting your offering on the altar, you remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift at the foot of the altar, go first to be reconciled with your brother, and after that you return to offer your gift. So you see that it is not the gift which is important to God, but it's our heart free of resentment, for example, okay? Or from resentment from someone against us. So that's the more important. And Spiritism says the same. Okay? And Kardec says that Jesus is teaching that the sacrifice most pleasing to the Lord is the sacrificing of one's resentment. And so if we want the forgiveness of God, we must forgive ourselves, like we say in the prayer, okay? And if we commit some wrong against any brother, we must repair it before going and make a prayer to God. What is prayer? In the Spirit book, question 659, he says, prayer is an act of worship towards God. Through prayer, we may do three things: praise, ask, and thank. And the good deeds are the best prayers, the Spirit says, for deeds are worth more than words. So it's something that we just talked about. Point 10, Plato talks about love. So love is, he says that the love is everywhere in nature. which invites us to exercise our intelligence. So he says, this is Plato, it is love that adorns nature with its rich cover. It is also love that gives peace to humans, tranquility to the sea, silence to the winds, and sleep to pain. So this is poetical from Plato. And Spiritism and Jesus says the same, okay? So in this passage from the Gospel according to St. Matthew, there is this passage where a doctor of the law came to Jesus and asked him, Master, which is the greatest commandment of the law? And Jesus answers him, you shall love the Lord with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And he said, this is the first commandment, Jesus says. And then he says, and this is the second, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and prophets are contained in those two commandments. So love is basically the message of Christ. And the Spiritism also says the same, okay? And the Gospel according to Spiritism, there Kardec comments that love summarizes Jesus' doctrine in its entirety. Love is something that we develop in us during our incarnation. That's why at their origin, Kardec says, we humans have only instincts. We are like animals. And then more advanced than corrupted, we have sensations, passions. More educated and purified, we have sentiments. Sentiments of charity, for example. And then the most delicate apex of sentiment is love. So love is above everything. Okay. So just what Plato said there. And the law of love replaces the personality, the egoism with the union of all beings, okay? And of selfishness, personality in the meaning of selfishness. Happy are they who love with a great love their brother and sister. Happy are those they love, and their feet are light, and they live as through transported outside themselves. So this is also a kind of a poetical way of Kardec saying about love. Okay. Then the 11th point is Plato says that all humans start from infancy do much more evil than good. So why is that? It's because in the Gospel according to Spiritism, in chapter 3, Kardec explains that the earth portrays one of the types of expiatory worlds. So what is this expiatory worlds? It's something that I talked on the previous lecture. These are the worlds where evil dominates. So that's why from the infancy to death, we as humans in general do more evil than good. So, but Kardec also says that there in the Gospel, according to Spiritism, that progress is one of the laws of nature. So the earth, according to this law of progress, will reach a more elevated degree. And so from being an expiatory world where evil dominates, we are going to a level of a regenerative world where evil and good are more balanced between them. Okay? Evil does not dominate anymore. The 12th point here is, the last one. Plato says here that there is wisdom in not believing that you know what you do not know. So this is basically what Socrates did, okay? He talked to people to make them realize that what they thought they knew, they didn't know in reality. So that's why he arranged many enemies and in the final was accused and condemned to death. But was a kind of a mission that they had. And what Jesus said in the Gospel according to St. Matthew, he says, then I render you glory, my Father, for having hidden these things from the learned and wise, and for having revealed them to the simple and small. So wisdom is not for the learned and wise. but for the simple and small. And in Gospel of Spiritism, Kardec explains, simple and small mean the humble, who do not believe themselves superior to everyone else. And learned and wise mean the proud, who believe themselves superior to others. So God allows these, the learned and wise, to search for the secrets of earth, but reveals the wisdom only to those, to the simple and small, the secrets of heaven or the wisdom. Okay, so this is generally what we want to bring here about what Socrates and Plato said, and comparing to what Jesus said and what Spiritism says. So just to conclude here, uh, Kardec says that the clear and precise idea that one holds of the future life provides an unshakable faith in the future. So, therefore, the tribulations of life, sufferings, for in general, are no more than incidents which one bears with patience, because we know that there is life before this life. Okay? And that doesn't mean that nobody would be concerned with the present life, because the search for well-being, we have inside us the law of progress, so which forces people to improve everything, as he says here, following this instinct of progress and self-preservation. So it seems that Plato, Socrates, Spiritism, Jesus are talking more about the future life than for the present. They are denying in some way the present life. No, it's not. It's not that. They are they are saying is that we are looking to the future life. We must live better our present life. So this is the basic message from them. And on this, I concluded my presentation, and thanks for hearing me, and I'll be open to questions if you may have. Okay.
Wow, we traveled through the time here.
Yeah. Yeah.
We traveled through the time, boss. So it's so important to make this kind of comparison and see what's not what Jesus said, but it's nothing new for us. Anywhere you can go is all the same teachings, the same teachings, but different stories.
Yes. Yes.
No, and also it was very important to get to know how Kardec made this junction. Like I said, he put it all together and make this mix.
Yeah. 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 And it's interesting because we talked here about Jesus, Socrates and Plato as precursors of Jesus, but there were other precursors before Socrates and Plato.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Because if you go through the history, like we do have these teachings, like even though in the Orient, like with Buddha, with
India,
exactly. So it's almost the same teachings, just different stories, but the meaning is the same.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So Gabriel Inácio is asking a question here. Can we find out these teachings in the Spirits book?
Most of that, yes, because the Spirit book is based. The main principles of Spiritism is there. The Spirit book is a kind of a philosophical book. The Gospel, according to Spiritism, we can see the religious side of Spiritism, the moral issues, and we talked about both of them here. You know, we cited here today the Spiritist book, the Gospel according to Spiritism, and heaven and hell also. And then to see the scientific part of Spiritism, then we must go to the Book of Mediums and to the Genesis. So this is what I can answer to Gabriel. But Spiritist book is everything there.
Yeah. Even though Kardec he made a brief introduction about Plato and Socrates at the beginning of the book as well. So he gives an idea. But Roberto, before I say, there's a comment here from Jersey. Fantastic. Whenever I hear you teach this class, I am surprised and I learn a lot. I am amazed. Thank you. Big hug, my Spiritist philosophy teacher.
Yeah, Dirce worked with me here at the
Yeah. She told us you were her professor. Yeah. But the question you ask, Roberto, is we see this is nothing new. Okay, like we showed to us today, Socrates and Plato as a precursor of the Spiritism, Christianism. Why we still not applying it? Because we do have a lot of people who knows the theory but don't apply. Some people don't know anything about the theory and put their hands on. Yeah. I'm not saying we are not applying these. I'm saying in more in a sense of why the human being are still fighting against each other. We have to have this type of COVID in order to learn, to teach us how we need to look after ourselves, how to look after our neighbors. So why this is not being used by everybody?
Well, by what Kardec says is that, he says the origin of all evil is pride. And pride is, from pride we have the selfishness. And I think we are very still attached to this and in our current state of evolution. So it's something that we must going through this, and gradually, little by little, we will learn about thinking not only about ourselves as individuals, but think about the others also. So that's the main message you saw from Jesus, from Socrates, from Spiritism, and it's something very basic idea, simple to understand, but very hard to practice because of the selfishness, pride, and so that this kind of things that prevent us to do the right thing.
And for those who are listeners for the first time, what do you think? Where should someone start to achieve this ideal moment?
The main thing that we must do, we say that we must start reflecting about our life. So that recommendation of Socrates, which is already on the question 919 from the Spiritist book, know thyself. So know thyself means reflecting about our life, about what we think, what we talk, what we do, and see the effects of all these thoughts, talking, and actions, and see what is good, what's not good, and then adjusting the ways we do this. So involving a lot of reflection, I would say, Esteban. in the beginning is something very intimate from each person. So because we have started in our inner feelings, then we can go outside. So, but studying the books is help us a lot, or looking hearing presentations, classes, courses, everything help us to do this. But this is a kind of a very personal task that every person must do, because, for example, that theory of a reminiscence of Plato. Plato used to say, nobody teaches nobody anything, because we know everything already. And the book, the Spiritus book says, if you go there to the question 621, Kardec asked to the Spiritists, where are the laws of a God? Where are the divine laws? And their answer is simple: in our conscience. So we have already in our conscience that you say that's like Plato. We have already in our conscience the idea of good, of justice, of beauty. So we have all the values that matters inside us. So we just need to find them. So that's why this reflection is very important.
Yeah, and this come across what you said. We have a question here from Patricia. The theory of forms by Plato is so a description of the spiritual world. Is that right?
No, not exactly, because Plato is more abstract, I would say here. He's saying that in the world of ideas, there are ideas, some very abstract things that, but for him was real, but he was not talking about the spiritual world. And we now, according to Spiritism, I would say we interpreted that the world of ideas of Plato as spiritual world, but it's not exactly the same. So what, for example, I mentioned that in Spiritism we have the philosophical aspect. And when we study philosophy from the spiritual point of view, we study all the thinkers from the past, since Plato, St. Augustine, Descartes, Kant, Hegel, but we interpret it according to our thinking today. So we cannot say that they said the same as us. That's why we cannot say, oh, Plato was a spiritist. No way, because he had his idea that is similar to us, but not the same. Okay, so this is what I can answer to our friend.
Like all roads take you to Rome.
Yeah, exactly.
So many roads, but it's one single point.
Yeah. So the point is that when we study the philosophers or the thinkers or the religious men from the past, we must, like Paul says, Paul the apostle says, we must attach to what is good and discard what is not important, because man from the past has ideas that are not accepted today. For example, Plato, for example, on the reincarnation, Plato said that, for example, if a person is very attached to material things, in the next life, he can reincarnate as a wolf, for example, as an animal. So this is called metempsychosis. So this is not accepted to Spiritism, but for Plato, and Plato brought that from the Egyptians thinking. So we must refine this idea through time. So that's why we do today. But maintaining what is good from those ideas.
Yeah. Another question here we have. How about the Seed of God by Augustine?
Yeah, good question. Well, the Seed of God of Augustine. Augustine he lived in a very turbulent world. It was the 4th to 5th century, where the Roman Empire was being invaded by the barbarian people, and Augustine himself died during an attack of these barbarian people, and as he saw to this material world from his time, he looked all he lived was wars, conflicts, and then he said, "Well, this is the city of man, where we have a war and we have a conflict. But there is another city. There is the city of God. In the city of God, there is no conflict, there is no war." So it was a kind of is to separating, the material world from what would be a happy world. So if you see, it's something similar to what Plato also did before. Plato was talking about the material world and the world of ideas. So it's a metaphysical world. And Augustine is doing the same. The difference is that Augustine says, when all of us, each one of us, do more good than evil, then the city of God will be here on earth. So when we call about the world of regeneration, that I talked on the previous lecture, we are talking about this is bringing the city of God on earth. This will happen when each one of us will improving ourselves, doing much more good than bad, and at the end, doing only good, not bad anymore. This is the situation of the happy world. So you see that it's a kind of a dream of a Saint Augustine, but it points to something that he's looking forward, and we are going through this direction, fortunately.
Yeah, oh, wow, thank God. Well, I would say read the moral laws in Spiritism book. I think it starts on the question 890. So read the moral laws, apply it to yourself. We will still need the struggling times, because when we are passing through problems is the moment when we are taking a leap in terms of evolution, because we learn more.
Yeah, exactly.
We have the capability to reinvent ourselves. That's why we need struggling times.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? It doesn't mean all the time you do good. I do every time, and you will not face problems. Of course, you're gonna face problems, because the problems you have faced so far is the person or the personality you are today. So the problems built yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So when we talk here about read the moral laws, make this comparison, is to allow you to understand, allow you to get back on track and live your life.
Yeah.
In one point, live your life knowing yourself, and follow what Jesus said was the most command: love your neighbor as yourself, and love God with your heart.
Yeah.
So even Jesus, when he was here with us, his life, it was not like a paradise.
Yeah.
He suffered.
Yeah.
And he ended up in the cross.
Yeah, exactly.
So we need to differentiate that. Okay, I'm applying this. So if I'm applying this, it means I will not have problems. No. No.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
that's not the question here.
Yeah. Problems. These problems is to as you are saying, problem is to test our intelligence and to make us grow. So, the problem is how we see problems. There are people who see problems as something very bad, and there are people who see problems like an opportunity to test their intelligence. So
Exactly.
it's kind of a mindset, okay? That we must have the correct mindset. Even this situation of this pandemic, for example, there is many suffering problems, economic problems, social problems, but we have also many opportunities to reflect about our life and make some necessary changes, I would say.
Mhm. Or adapt ourselves, like the spirit sense are adapting. Most of the spirit sense are doing virtual meetings.
Yeah,
The spiritism teachings, it's I would say is more. We are spreading more the words now.
yeah, exactly.
We can see amazing lives in Brazil.
Mm,
We are trying. We of course we are not there, but we are trying to spread these lives in English
mm,
in order to help out our friends here in Ireland who
mm,
received us with open arms, all the spirits protectors who allowed us to be here today. So
mm.
that's the minimum we can do in order to say thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Because spiritism opens up our mind and also our heart. But it depends on our decision. But the mind, for sure, it opens, and our heart depends on us. It's a little bit more difficult, but it's possible. Nothing is possible for us.
And at the moment we recognize that our future depends on what we are doing today, so
Yeah,
we shall be more careful,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
and think twice. But again, it's not because you are a spiritist, you read all the books, you are seeing all the lives in the internet, you will not have problems, you will not have sufferings.
yeah,
Yes, you do,
yeah,
but spiritism allow you to be more comfort with
yeah,
yourself.
yeah. You confront these situations in a different way, in a more positive way. Understand that everything that happens to us has a reason, and
Mhm.
and looking from this point of view, everything is is easier in some way. I would say not easier in easy, but we is more understandable to us.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So one question from Gabriel. Now this is the last question because our time is up. Did
Mm.
they give any message to Kardec? I think it's Socrates and Plato. They give any message through a mediumship meeting. Are you
Oh,
aware?
mm, yes, Gabriel. If you look at I think in the the book of mediums, there are some messages in the last chapter at the end of the book of mediums. You have a message from many spirits, and some of them are from Socrates, and I'm not sure if it's Plato, but you can see also messages from them on the issue. I don't know in English. Revista Espírita, the Spiritist magazine.
Spiritism
Yeah,
magazine.
Spiritist magazine. Yes, there you have also some messages from them, and
Yeah,
and all, and also Gabriel, you can see on the front speech on the beginning of the book, Spirit book. There is a general message, and at the end, many spirits put their signatures, let's say, and there are Plato and Socrates also.
I would say to you, Gabriel, if you go to www.kardecpedia.com, www.kardecpedia.com, on the search box, you type Socrates, and click on search. Everything written in the codification, which mentions Socrates, you will find
Okay.
there.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so that's the easiest way how you can find this. Okay, my friends. So we time is up. We are almost 15 minutes over. Don't look like, but when the talk is good. So we have here people say thank you, congratulations, what a great clarification for all of us. Thank you.
This is Cordero, a friend of mine.
Yeah.
Here.
Guilherme Velho say, hey, my friends, congratulating you as well. Also, our friend in Chicago, Don, he's saying, I listen, live to teachers. I've never heard otherwise. When listen to live talk, I feel like I am in the room with you. Yes, Don. Yes, because sometimes you can see the words here and your and everything you can see here. So, Roberto, once again, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for these clarifications. I want to say thank you for the Spiritist Federation of the State of São Paulo for allowing you to be here with us, to use your name. It's a great pleasure to see we do have friends around the world, even though the support we are receiving from you, and it's a great pleasure. And I would say this is not the last one. We will have more, but
okay.
It's up to now to Roberto see how he will, how is his agenda. Okay. Thank you, everybody. And Roberto, would you mind to do a final prayer for us?
Yes, sure.
Okay.
I thank you for this opportunity, and we can schedule other meetings if you want. And
of course. Well, the comments here is saying yes.
Okay, so let's prepare ourselves to close our meeting here today, and to thank all the spiritual benefactors who supported us during this life, and all of us, let's raise our thoughts to Jesus and saying, Dear Master, we thank you for this opportunity to talk about your teachings according to the messengers you sent us before you came here to earth, Socrates and Plato, and also according to the Spiritism. We thank you for this opportunity to meeting here in virtually, but you said that whenever two or more of us would be reunited in name of you, you would be within us. So be with us, dear Lord, and help us to realize in our lives all your teachings. So be it.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Roberto.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you, everybody. I'll see you next Tuesday. Thank you very much. Have a nice weekend.